In this video, I will be telling you how to talk to a female and keep a conversation going. This is a very common issue amongst many males. You really are interested in a girl, or you just find that person attractive, and then you manage to find a chance to talk to her, and the conversation dries up or goes dead very, very quickly, or you just can't think of anything else to say. It gets really awkward, so you leave. So I've been there numerous times, and it's been very tough and frustrating and embarrassing. So what can you do? Well, first, I learned a lot of models and techniques and strategies from dating coaches and pickup artists. Now, some of these models worked decently, but as I experienced in real life, some of these things do not work for every situation, because what I found was that conversation can be quite random and unstructured, and a lot of different things can happen. People can interrupt you. Things can interrupt you. Animals can interrupt you. You can all of a sudden realize that she or he is saying something that is completely unexpected. Or things are going very well and boom, another person comes into a conversation and is very overpowering and just like moves it in a completely different direction. Or five people come in. So it's a very dynamic thing, and it's, very different from what I expected. And I think the big issue was that oftentimes a lot of these models were based on specific situations, and only those situations that these experts had experienced. Some of them had only experienced one-on-one, type conversational situations where there's close to no chance that anyone would come in and interrupt. Others have only been in situations where, it's very quiet or in the daytime, and it's not very chaotic. Others are in a complete opposite situation, very chaotic situation where tons of people are coming in and out, and it's very loud because there's music, and it's usually a bar or a nightclub or something like that, and you can't hear anything, and so you have to talk in a specific way and speak in her ear and all sorts of stuff like that. So there's a lot of different situations that really challenge certain models, and it's a great illustration on how not all models are perfect. I think one situation, and this is one that I've experienced numerous times, is one where I have to talk to people for many hours on end. And, because I'm forced to be in that situation, I mean, I don't mind it. There's no problem. I'm pretty chill with the people there. Oftentimes, it will get to a point where, at the end of the day, both of you just end up running out of things to say. And I think that's one of the big things I have to emphasize. It is okay to run out of things to say. And most people don't acknowledge this point. So when I was put in the situations where there is hours upon hours at end where I'm, with other people, then, even if you're really cool and you're chill and, you're friendly towards each other and you like each other, whether it's a guy friend or a girl, you will both at one point or another run out of things to say. It's very, very natural. And unless you find out you're really best friends and you have every single thing in common in life experiences, and you automatically hit it off and you have all these inside jokes, it's super, super common. And what you will realize and notice is that it is okay. A lot of people, you may be one of these people, you get overwhelmed by all this knowledge and all these models and stuff. But then when you actually meet people in real life, like I have, you realize that, all these people who have had 0%, zero knowledge or advice in these areas, they're pretty cool and chill with the fact that they're bored and they have nothing to say, and they don't need to keep talking to you. They're pretty cool with you just being there. And sometimes I learned that if you keep feeling anxious or nervous because you feel like you need to keep saying other stuff, and from there you start taking action by constantly trying to keep the conversation going, it can get very annoying, or it can get very try hard or desperate. But oftentimes it's just annoying. And so, that's one of those things. Now, you actually came here for some actual structure and models. So some things do actually help. One is to not take things so seriously. I do think that humor and jokes and being funny lightens the mood. And with humor and jokes, you can really create a lot of different things to talk about and laugh about and so forth. Quite frankly, you can have very deep conversations and all that stuff, and that's one way of going. Or you can, make a person laugh and joke around and all that stuff, and that works too. Like both of those tactics can work, and there's a lot of other things you can do. But I do think that, for you to have more fun yourself, and just any happy person, any healthy person, every once in a while they have to have some level of sense of humor and make a joke here or there, or at least see a funny side of life. Not constantly, but I do think it lightens the mood, it removes boredom, keeps things less boring, and it's one way of approaching it. Another is to go really deep, talk about deep things, connect in that way, or just really be open-minded and really be interested in what they have to say or that they're interested in. So this was very tough for me because sometimes, guess what? There's quite frankly nothing to be interested in. So honestly, what I found though was that's not true at all. And it was quite the shift in mindset and perspective. Initially, I had the mindset, and this happened for years, it was this mindset of, okay, that's not that interesting. Okay, what else can I talk about? Ask her about this, not that interesting. I came from a place of just like, a lot too much skepticism, and that may be where a lot of people are. Since then, through my readings from a lot of different sources, self-help, just seeing talk show hosts and how they ask questions and how they talk to people, and experiencing life, and just a lot of factors, I realized that, I'm going to stop being so critical of everyone, and I am going to start believing, because it's true, that every person is interesting on some level. And even the most boring person in the world has at least one interesting thing about them. And you can find something interesting about everyone. Now, this mindset was huge, and I think the author of the book, Mate, was one person who suggested this, and I think it was he was one of the many factors that definitely influenced me a lot to change this perspective, and that really opened things up. And it's so true. Like, perhaps you may have nothing in common with an elderly lady who has spent her whole life in the retail space. But nowadays, even her, I am very interested in her because she has perspectives and life stories and all these things that I could learn from that I have never experienced. And sometimes, you go there with an open mind. Sometimes you don't really learn anything new. At least you tried. More often than not, though, you learn something incredible if you dig a little bit deeper. And you'll hear amazing stories. For instance, I heard a story about a woman, and turns out she has this whole family, and she went through a whole divorce, and raised all these children on her own, and did all this stuff. And I was like, wow, I wouldn't have ever expected all of that to be accomplished. So having that open mind is eye-opening. So I guess the final thing is that to realize that most people, most guys are very logical and object-oriented in their conversation style. I do think it goes back to prehistoric and tribe days because they have to look for specific things. Where's the deer? How do I find it? How do I kill it? They're really asking questions, getting answers, and going from there. Generally speaking, not always, but women are, they can be a little bit more flowing and emotional and conversational in their dialogue. And words mean more, and they're more emotional, and so forth. Now, you don't want to go too deep with that. The point of that is to realize that you can't just constantly ask questions, hear answers, and say, cool, that's okay, that's cool, yeah. Sometimes you want to go a little bit deeper. You want to say your own statements about these things, give your own opinions about those things, rather than constantly asking questions. Throw in occasional statements in there. And with every topic, you start broad because you don't know this person, but from there you start asking about them. And in one sentence alone, a person can say like 4 or 5 different things about them. I came from here, I lived here, I grew up here, I did this, I'm interested in this, I have a job in this, I'm majoring in this, I'm studying this. And each of those things you can drill down in and ask more about it. I do think ultimately, because this video is getting pretty long, ultimately I do think that you shouldn't overthink these things, and quite frankly, there is a certain level of natural flow to it. Ultimately, if you're really interested in a topic, it really comes naturally. And if you find someone just as interested in the topic, it will flow very naturally. You are probably very interested about YouTube videos. You are probably very interested in maybe dating advice. You are probably very interested in reading books. If you meet someone in the same camp, whether it's at a book club or maybe VidCon, guess what? You don't have to think these things through. Because you're both interested in the same topic, it will flow naturally. You want to talk about this guy, you want to talk about this YouTuber, you want to you want to learn about these things. You want to ask them what they know, and it just flows naturally because you're both interested in the topic and you want to talk more about your interests. So, guess what? Ultimately there is a certain level of natural flow there, and you really have to figure out, like, why are you trying so hard sometimes to get someone to keep a conversation going. Sometimes I do think that no matter how hard you try, with certain people you will just never connect with, and quite frankly sometimes that's for the better. Sometimes these people, you just have nothing in common with them, and quite frankly they're not the type of people you want to hang around anyways. Sometimes you may be a very academic person focused on success or whatever else, and you're talking to a person simply because they're super attractive, but they have no goals in life. They don't want to do anything. They don't understand your lingo, your perspectives, because all they think about is partying and so forth. And it's a very foreign world to you, and you can learn more about that world and gain that culture, and that may be a way of you to connect with that person. Or ultimately it's like, well, ultimately it's not going to work anyways. So you have to figure that out. Like, if someone's really into drugs and you're not, is that really going to work out in the long run? So, that leaves the group of people who are just like, I don't really care about any of this. I know I'm not going to marry this person. I just want to, do well with her because she's very attractive. So from there, I do think there's a lot of things to attract her. That's for a different video. As far as conversational skills alone, ultimately, I do think that what you can do is start talking and getting into her head, figuring out how she is, understanding her culture, how she thinks, and from there you may be able to better talk to her, relate to her, and so forth. Now, this takes a bit of time, and you may need to hang around these people to really understand their culture and experiences. Definitely for certain groups of people, certain ethnic groups, or certain generations, certain youth groups, people who are very into you know, the pop culture generation. All these people have different cultural things that are maybe a bit subtle, but if you hang around them enough, you will start picking up how they think, and oftentimes they're different from you. So long story short, I do think that sometimes you don't want to try too hard, because at the end of the day, it's too much. And, you know, I'm against that whole thing of how girls say it's just be yourself, because guess what? You know that it's not working. However, there is a certain level of truth to being yourself. You know, at the end of the day, if you're not someone who talks a lot and is very shy, guess what? This may be controversial, because this may not be the, you know, people may disagree with this, but guess what? On a certain level, there are people who like you for you. I mean, there are people who like shy individuals, people who don't talk much, who aren't, you know, very enthusiastic and aren't super conversationalists. And so, you know, if you bend yourself and fake yourself to be something you're completely not, then at the end of the day, like, you won't be happy with yourself, and neither will that other person, because they want the real you and you're not there. So figure out what you can change or enhance and what you shouldn't. And you ultimately just want to be the best version of yourself. Quite frankly, you know, most people who are confused or frustrated about this, their big issue is that they have, you know, this one person that they want to go for. But guess what? Nothing is in common with these people. And quite frankly, you would do better to avoid them in the first place. You know, there are certain girls who are just straight up into partying and drinking, and their whole lingo, all they talk about, all they think about, and their whole perspective is, oh, I want to buy this shopping bag. Oh, that person cheated on that guy. Oh my goodness, how dare they? And all sorts of nonsense like that. And ultimately, like, it will never work for me specifically. That will never actually occur. Even if they're very attractive, like, I would get super annoyed very quickly, because they're not really trying to go anywhere in life. They're not really trying to do anything, and their whole mind is filled with gossip and with, you know, talking about other people and spending their money on stuff. So, you know, that's a great example. Hope you like this video. If you want to go deeper, let me know. I'm thinking of releasing some free videos specifically to you guys via email on this, exclusive videos, exclusive, you know, little tactics. If you're interested in that, I need you to leave a comment on this video, and if I get enough requests in the comments, I will update the description of this video with where you can get those. Just so leave a comment on what you want those exclusive videos to be about, and you will get those sent privately to you once you sign up for the thing in the email. But you can't do that until I get enough demand for it. So basically, tell me in the comments what your biggest pain or problem is, and if I get enough questions or requests for certain things, I will update the description of this video so that everyone can sign up. And yeah, it's basically, you enter your email, you hit the button, and you will get exclusive content from me. Thanks for watching. See you later.